guys, welcome back to my podcast. It's Aurora here with you, and I have a special guest with me. I'm so excited. It's going to be so fun and so much different than all my fitness and nutrition talks right here. I have a lead of communication for Temple of Together, Burning Man's Temple for 2024. She is a sculptor, she is a media correspondent, astrologer, embodied heart of the temple, Kelly Smith. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Avrora. Thank you so much for having me here as a representative for the Temple of Together.
Yes, I'm so blessed to have you on. I never have anyone from Burning Man, and good to mention, I never talk about Burning Man in my podcast. But since my priorities right now switch more into um like spirituality and awakening of your soul, I was like, that's it. I have to invite someone from the Temple of Together because I am a part of that right now, and I am looking forward to the Burning Man of 2024. And also, I felt when I was there last year, I felt after I post my videos on YouTube, I have so many people confused by what is actually Burning Man, as usually what is behind the scenes. And I wanted to have that experience for them from the first person, like from someone who is not like me. I was there only one time in my life, and hopefully, because you never know, I'm gonna be there one more time. And you are experienced. So let's start just simply by introducing yourself a little more. Tell us a little more about yourself, where you're from, and what do you do for a living right now?
Okay, so I've been a sculptor since I was about 16, and my parents are sculptors, so they really allowed me the avenue to be creative. And when kids are growing up and they say, I want to be an artist, the parents are like, no way, you're being a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. But my parents, because they are sculptors, they were like, no, this is great. And then a little bit later down the line, I wanted to be an architect. Pretty much about the same time. That was my first love, was architecture. And so I was going to be at Taliesin West here in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I'm in currently for a visit. And my life just kind of switched over at around, I was doing sculpting since 16. And then around 19 years old, I still wanted to go to architecture school, but an architect told me, don't do it. You're doing great being a sculptor and you got a lot more freedom and creativity. So I kept with it. And I was a sculptor have been a sculptor for a very long time, a couple decades now. And I sell through galleries and I'm a retail artist.
Mhm.
Well, around 2016, 17, I started to get like these kind of pings in my soul that I needed something else. I needed something different. My mom is Ecuadorian, and I went down to Ecuador to do my first ayahuasca retreat. And I've never done psychedelics in my life. And so I
Wow.
dove in. And I was introduced to ayahuasca as a child, as the plant, as the two plants, one of the vine and the other plant, by the natives that have lived there next to my grandparents' property. And so anyway, 2017, I decided to do a deep dive into ayahuasca. And I was doing it for reasons of like relationship, the typical things, relationship and next move in my life and all this. But what came out of it was that I was being really controlled in my life and I wasn't really releasing and allowing. And I had a deep oneness experience when I was 19, so several years earlier. And that oneness experience, the first one I had, was universal consciousness. And I yearned to be back then. I yearned to find community and people who were on the same self discovery path. And so ayahuasca led me to somebody in the group, years later, someone in the group during the ayahuasca retreat that said, have you guys ever been to Burning Man? And I'm like, no, but I've always wanted to. It's ever since I learned about it, like I wanted to go since I was like 20 or something. I was young when I found out about it. My family would spend summers in Lake Tahoe, and so we were pretty close to it, and I was in that community. So I felt like I was a burner before I was a burner. Like
Oh, wow.
a lot of us felt that way. And so um, I decided right then and there at the ayahuasca retreat in 2017 that I was going to go to Burning Man that year. And I just didn't know how I was going to do it. But like things just lined up, as you know, things happen. And I got a ticket that year. And I couldn't just go to Burning Man. The thing that was really holding me off from going to Burning Man is that when I did decide finally I'm going to go, long before that, it was 2010 and I lost a fiance to an overdose of Oxycontin and we were going to go to Burning Man. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I kind of put it off. I put it off and then life happened, and then it was like, oh, I don't have enough money to go. And all these things, resistance was stopping me. But when I did the retreat with ayahuasca in 2017, it was like a total, like, you're going to go. You have to go. This is going to change. And I'm getting chills right now because it's like, you know how that is. It's like when you're on
Yeah.
your path. And so I got a ticket and someone came to my studio one day, a friend, and was like, I have a ticket for you. And so it just happened. And the other thing that was kind of putting me off of not going is the overwhelm of so many people and then all the art and not being an artist, being overwhelmed and not having made something. So I decided, well, shoot, I'm going to make something anyway. So I made a sign for a camp and I thought it was a big sign. It was like 6 feet long by like 4 feet high, but it was not. I brought it there in like a trailer with all my other stuff. And I brought it there and I realized, whoa, Burning Man is just like, it's just towering over this sign. And then the next year, a friend sent me an announcement for not an honoraria, but for a contract to make a piece for Burning Man for the Man Pavilion. When you build work for the Man Pavilion and you're an artist there, you are a contract artist. And so they give you the amount that they think it would cost to make the thing. So the first year I built a robot for the man base. It was a silver robot, a woman robot standing in front of the man. But earlier that year in the spring, I found out that someone was making Baba Yaga House. And I was like, I need to be a part of this. And this was before I got the other one for the same year. So the first year that I ever made anything, I was like, no, I'm going to hold true to my commitments and I'm going to make both. So I helped make the interior parts of Baba Yaga House and I made the sculpture for the Man Pavilion. And then one of the favorite parts was I got to play Baba Yaga. And so that started me on the journey of being a maker for Burning Man. So Burning Man for me has been opening my creative doors and being a part of something that's outside of my retail art world. And then obviously it's more than that. It became something so much bigger than this. And so I've been bringing art to Playa every year, except for last year. I was a collaborator on a piece, but every year I've been a part of something every year. And so this year,
let's hold on for a second,
yeah.
just for a second, because I know some of people who are gonna listen to that maybe don't know what this Baba Yaga is. Can you like explain? So, guys, Baba Yaga is like a really like Eastern European, I guess, like character, right? From the better. Tell them.
Are you sure? I'm thinking like, oh my God, Avrora, she must know about this, from Ukraine. So Baba Yaga is kind of like every culture seems to have like their boogeyman that eats the children if they don't behave.
Yeah, yeah.
Something, like some sort of character is part of the archetype of if you don't behave at night, the mom and dad come in and be like, you better behave or Baba Yaga will come and get you. So Baba Yaga was a witch that lived out in the forest, and it's a Slavic fairy tale. And Baba Yaga, she apparently eats children if they don't behave. But a lot of people would come to her for favor, and she would send them off on these wild adventures to go get like something, and then might give them a coin or she might let them live. But the idea was that she represented somebody who would balance, the scales of good and evil, let's say, or, if you weren't a good boy, or if you weren't a good girl, you might have Baba Yaga, put you in order. And there's many stories connected with it, like, we have our fairy tales, but there's different stories that connect Baba Yaga. And so I played Baba Yaga in the house, and it was very people who knew about it, and they would come in to Baba Yaga house during that year. I was dressed in like old lady, like wig and like the brooms, the big dress and stuff. And I was sitting in the corner in a rocking chair going like this, and they would come to me. And some people knew about it. And so they'd be like, Baba Yaga, what can I do for you? What can I do? What kind of thing? And I'd be like, well, and I would think of the craziest things. Like one day I was like, let's see if they can find me some orange vodka. Like they couldn't find me that. There's no way. So I'm like, go find me orange vodka. And the guy was like, okay. I'm like, there's no way. So like 2 hours later, he arrives with orange vodka in a little thing, and he's like, I found it.
Oh my
Playa,
goodness.
Playa provides. So it was almost like a thing of like Playa provides. Like it was like magic. It was just like people would come to me and then I would give them coins, So anyway, that's
Yeah.
Baba Yaga.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely are so grateful for you sharing whole your experience in with ayahuasca as well, because it's a part of your story. And I would be happy to circle back to that and talk about that deeper because I love to talk about ayahuasca. I never done it, and I'm looking forward to do it for one day. I just always believe that it's maybe gonna come to me in the right time, in the right moment, even though I am like kind of into plant medicine, just never did ayahuasca experience. But before we get into that, I wanted to a little bit circle to this year and you this year as a role lead of communication for Temple of Together. And this
Yeah.
involves a lot of diverse talks. So could you walk us through like your typical day in this role and what are some of the most rewarding aspects of your work that you do in this year?
These are wonderful questions. So a typical day, I would have to preface this because people who are not aware of what goes on in temples
Kelly,
don't
I'm so
realize.
sorry for 1 second. Something changed with your microphone. Did you cover it? Like I still hear you, but it's can you say something?
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah, yeah. So something happened for a second. It was like covered.
But I've been having technical stuff all day. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
it's been kind of
it's good.
but I didn't realize what goes on in the burning in the temple until I was involved in temple. It's like the craziest thing how many pieces go into making the temple. It's unreal. And so to preface this, I proposed temple last year. I mean for this year, but you propose in October. So I proposed temple. And I wanted to do it. I wanted every artist, I think, kind of thinks about it. And I just got my courage. And also, I was dealing with some personal stuff, and it was a healing thing for me to propose. So I proposed temple, just did it. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And then I knew I didn't get it, but I thought, you know what? I need to support whoever gets this temple as long as I feel like in alignment with it. I wanted to support them. And I was living in the Bay Area. So I found out the temple was like right here that you see. And I saw the picture and I'm like, I have to be a part of this. This is
Hmm.
incredible. And then I found out who the maker was, who the lead was. And I'm like, I just connected with this person. Her name is Caroline Ghosn. And she
Hmm.
is one of the most fantastic people. She's unreal. Like she's an incredible leader. This person is this temple was meant to come through her.
For someone
And
who are not watching this on the video, she's referring to the background
oh
of her
yes.
screen, and you have to go on my YouTube and look it up, or just go and find Temple of Together on Instagram, or they have a website. I will all link like right there in description down below. It's
Yeah.
really look really beautiful, and yeah, just wanted to refer that because people like what she's talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
and temple, what is exactly temple? Could you also explain that for someone who never been in a Burning Man?
Sure, sure. So, yeah, so temple, first of all, I want to start there because that's actually a really important place to start about what is temple because people who aren't knowing like about that, they might have heard of Burning Man. I mean, lots of people have heard of Burning Man, right? But
Yeah.
temple is a different thing. So in 2000, during the building of Burning Man, an artist named David Best decided that he was going to build a structure. And this structure was going to be artistic and it was going to be something that he imagined and that he wanted to produce. And that's where it started. Okay. But then during the build, right before the build, there was a horrific motorcycle accident with one of his friends, a dear friend of the community. And when that motorcycle accident happened, just as they were starting that build, he quickly changed perspective as, alignment with universe does. And this became a memorial for the one who had passed away, but then also others in the community. It was in that moment that he realized by synchronicity, by divine alignment, that we need a space in our community to grieve. We need a space not just to grieve those who've passed, but transitions in a life like any community has. And we have a community now. We have Burning Man. It is a family, it is a community, it's a village, it's a city. And so every city will have a place like this, a place to go to be reverent and to connect with something deeper than and beyond yourself. And so that's how temples started. And every single year there has been a temple. For the first, can't remember how many years David Best did the temple in a row. I think it was like 7 years. And then they opened it up to other artists. And it was very much a, hate to say this, but it became a man's world. It was like a man builder. It was a man architect. And that it seemed to be, that was the tradition. And that was kind of the way it was going. It was like an architect, male architect. And it was kind of to showcase what he can do. And then they slowly, every time they kind of realize what this really means. It's about the community and not so much about the structure. The structure is great, but the community and what it represents is really the key. Like Caroline Ghosn, the lead artist of this year's temple, says that we're not really building a building. We are building a community. We are, what emerges on Playa is going to be the emergence of what we are creating now in pre-build. And so that's how the temple came about at Burning Man. And the way that I came to be the lead was, okay, so I did my temple proposal. I didn't get it. I knew I wasn't get it. And then I saw the temple. I was like, okay, I got to be a part of this. And I came to the kickoff day on March 2nd in Oakland at the Loom, which is a large builder space in Oakland near the Embarcadero. And I walked in there and there was about 45, 50 people in there. I just thought, universe, I'm just going to support wherever I'm needed. I'm just going to be open to whatever happens. And they had little breakout sessions after the intros. And one of the breakout sessions, I saw this man standing aside and I went to go talk to him because he looked so familiar to me. And this is how weird the universe just aligns things. He looked familiar to me. I thought I saw him at Fly Ranch a few months previously. I was sure of it. And I went up to talk to him and he's like, no, I wasn't there. And we started just talking for like 5 minutes and he's looking at me and he's like, I think you would be really good as the communications lead. Would you be interested in that? And I had so much going on in my life. And so I was like, yes, until you find somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, what is this involved? Like, this sounds like a lot. But I do love to be in communications. I've been a journalist. I've done a lot of communications in marketing and in my own work. And I used to be a TV anchor and I've done magazine articles and yada, yada. So I do know how to communicate a process and an ideal and to embody that and to communicate. That's kind of why I said I embody the temple, because so many people say you've embodied this temple and communicated it. And that's my role. And he saw that. And that night he's like, we're having a breakout session for communications. Why don't you go ahead and lead it? Just like right then. I was like, so I just kind of like jumped in and I kind of made a plan. He's like, this is yours. The communications is yours. Do as you wish. You are head of now the website, you're head of social media, you're head of all outgoing and incoming communications, you're head of like talking to Burning Man about what's going on, you're head of any podcasts, any interviews. So that became my role.
Wow.
And so a typical day would be at first, you're going to have a lot of people coming in for temple build. And sometimes you might not know what you're going to have them do. Sometimes. Most of the time, though, Sparkle Pony and the rest of the leads pretty much have a really good idea of what's going to happen that day. Actually, they do. They have a very good idea. They have the idea. It's all planned out. Some days, though, you're going to have more volunteers than you have things to do. And so it's creating community, too, because you're going to have people with all different kinds of skill levels. But the most important thing, really, to us is that someone is eager, collaborative, loving, kind, and can get along with others and is willing and eager to learn and to do better. That really is what it amounts to in our temple community. Collaboration with others, getting people involved, getting others in interactivity within the temple. So you might come in, let's say you wanted to come in tomorrow to the Loom. And you had signed up already, let's say, on the volunteer list, which is at templeoftogether.com. And you would go to volunteer. You would sign into like a form. And from that form, you would say what kind of things you might be good at, your skill set. And we will go on there and kind of like see where people might fit. And we might, collect from them if we need somebody like who's good at website. But overall, you will get an email saying you have some interest in volunteering. that email blast will go out and say, we are doing this weekend. And Ajish and Jen are community architects, and they're the ones that plan all of this out with communication with the lead builders. The lead builders let them know what's going on. We communicate through Slack about what the next build plan is. We're all in step with what the next steps are that weekend and what we are going to accomplish and what we hope to accomplish, what wood is coming in, what kind of process is coming in. And then they craft an email every week to say, this is what we're doing this weekend. So if you want to be involved, listen, we're going to be doing plasma cutting this weekend. That's for an example. If you want to be able to do more of an artistic thing, we might be doing something that's a little bit more artistic that weekend. So you can actually pick the weekend that you want, or just come in blindly and just not even sign into the whole volunteer thing on the web. You could just walk into the Loom in Oakland. You can use the QR code to sign in. Sign a waiver, go in, have safety glasses. We have all the safety gear as well if you didn't bring yours, but we do encourage everyone to bring their own. And it's a huge facility, maybe 10,000 square feet of our own warehouse that we build. And we might have different stations going on. In the morning, we'll gather after everyone's kind of come in and collected at 10 o'clock. We'll gather together a little after 10 and do a sort of stretching exercise, maybe like a kind of like a feel good get together exercise, and talk about what we're going to do that day. And then we'll break off into those areas of what is needed. And anyone is welcome to just come and go as they please. It's not like, hey, you need to like clock in. No, you do sign in just because of the waiver, but and then we break for lunch, and we typically all have lunch together, and we sit down, and Caroline, the lead build, is usually there, and we're just sitting down and we're talking and we're having community, and it's like a little family. And a lot of people come just for the community. They want to be a part of something. And then we have very skilled builders who are carpenters, who are skilled carpenters who also come. But I would say for no one to be afraid if they've even never swung a hammer, don't be afraid. Just come in.
So cool.
Skill. And so we're done at around 3 or 4, depending. And then that's it. So every weekend. And then we're going to add one weekday.
Well, guys, the only problem I have is that I'm in Hawaii. But if you are somewhere close in California, please go ahead and join them. Yes, I dream to be there, but I can only meet you guys right now on the internet because it's going to cost me too much and too long for a one weekend to get there and volunteer for you. But everyone who listened that and you guys can travel or you live in California, please come and see it by yourself. I mean, it sounds amazing. And this aspect of community that you guys bring in, that's what is actually make Burning Man the Burning Man, right? This is why everyone wants to be there at least once. And then as soon as it's like a drug, as soon as you try it once, you don't even know why, but you want to come back. You described yourself, and I heard that into your bio, as embodying the heart of the temple. What does that mean to you personally? And how do you infuse the sense of love and collaboration into your communicational strategies?
Oh, that is such a great question. I just keep on hearing it, especially from Caroline. When she introduces me, she's like, Kelly embodies the heart of the temple. And I just find that wonderful. I get excited, Avrora. I just get excited. I'm easily amused, and I just get excited about collaboration. I get excited about projects, and seeing them come alive is just like one of the most special things about Burning Man, is like seeing these things come alive, and it's fantastic. So embodying it, I think it comes naturally for those who, like me, who are just easily like feel into it. I can see the purpose, the deeper purpose. And also I have lost a partner. And when you lose a partner, also you are reaching into that depth of meaning and understanding. And when I have been in temple, I have seen people point out panels and things and go, you see that panel? I made that panel. I know because there's a scratch on it right there. That's my panel. Or do you see that flower? Like last year's temple, you see that flower? I made that flower with my, significant other while we were watching a TV show. I actually heard this. And so embodying that is full of purpose for me. And I like to go deeply into those purposes. Whatever I'm involved with, I go all in. I just go all in. And being a self-employed artist does help because I can make my own hours and I'm available. And so the communications lead, what I a lot of what I am doing really is making sure that each of the different work streams and areas are communicating with one another. That is part of Ajish and Jen too. And all of us leads are kind of like weaving in and out to make sure that everyone is on track there. But I'm listening. It's more about listening and understanding what is necessary and being responsible with your time or being responsible with people's energies, and also knowing the right way to communicate what we are trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. And I feel like my adjunct role is to personally support Caroline's vision. Because as a lead build myself in the past, I know how important it is to stay true to your vision, but also collaborate. It's a very fine line when you have a vision and this vision came through you, and also allowing others to have a little bit of freedom in their own expression within that vision. So my piece in this, because I have been there and I've done that sort of role, is to look at Caroline's vision and to always ask her, is this what you want? This is your vision. This is who you are. I want to make sure that you are okay with this vision. So if anyone intercedes and like is trying to exert some sort of, forceful idea, I am not worried about going, hey, you know what? This is the lead artist vision. This is Caroline's vision, and we are sticking to it. This is a community thing, but it comes a point to say, this is her vision. This is what came through the universe, through Caroline, and out into the world with her collaborators. And that is really basically the bottom line of the communications lead, is to make sure that that vision stays true.
Yeah. How would you describe the Caroline's vision for this Temple of Together this year, if you would?
Yeah, so she actually thought about first, well, to back up, she actually proposed a year before. And
Oh,
so she had a real feeling of what is necessary for our community. And when she proposed this year, she really went into the heart of the inside, the physical inside in her mind of what the temple feels like inside. So it was emotionally based of what she wants to elicit from others inside this temple. Caroline has a vast background of different being in different nationalities and living in different parts of the world. She was born in Brazil. She moved to the Carolinas when she was young. She went to France. Her father is from Beirut. She's lived in Japan. She knows 4 languages. She's incredibly educated. And so, because of this kind of international background, she wanted to include this in her proposal. So, you can't see it, those of you are just listening, but there's woven wood aspects to this that looks like basketry on the temple. If you see, it's this what we call the skin of the temple. And she collected this idea, or got this idea, from a queen of in Lebanon, either in lore or in actuality. I'm not quite sure. It could be a myth. But this queen was a weaver, and she created these beautiful weavings, and she was very supported in the vision of this. And so these handicrafts of Lebanese work is also, no pun intended or pun intended, interwoven into this temple, because she is a BIPOC artist and she is a female, and she wanted to honor this heritage and honor females of the world who create these handicrafts. And you'll also notice in the temple that there's a lot of muted tones, a lot of whites, a lot of tans, and in between those kind of tones. And it's really important to her. It was very important to her to elicit a sense of peace when you walk into the temple. No loud colors, nothing that is blaring. She wanted a sense of peace and calm. And so there's also going to be tapestries in that cream color and pillows in that cream color. And you mentioned before that if you're not in California, you're lucky to be in California, you should go and do it. But we are actually giving opportunity for those who are outside of the community to be involved in temple in other ways. For example, we have a call out right now for graphic designers who might want to create the vector design for the uprights and the benches of the CNC cut wood for those benches. So that one's coming up. You can look on the website for the call for that. And also, we're making pillows, which are called prayer pillows in this instance, and they are in these muted tones, but we're looking also for designs that are muted onto those pillows, and we have an opportunity for people to make pillows at home. There is other,
That's so
yeah,
cool. Okay,
yeah,
good
it's
to
really
know.
awesome. So that was her vision. She really, really wanted to instill the sense of community. She is always asking. I'm very close to Caroline in this process. We talk a lot, almost daily at this point, but she is so focused. This woman is so on it and so focused, but she's also coming from such a place of love in her heart. She has balance. She comes from such love in her heart. And it always astounds me how dedicated she is to this process and how selfless she is. She really is
Wow.
a selfless person. She has a vision, yes, and it is her vision, but she wants people to be involved. When some people come in who are brand new to any kind of building, or I ran into the temple, to our temple, people come into the loom, to the build space, and they might be in the huddle, right? And then she'll ask, hey, who here's new? Who hasn't been here before? She will
Mm-hmm.
actually personally bring them together in a huddle in our little chill lounge area that we created to the side, and talk to them about what is your purpose? What is your why? What's your heart saying? What brought you here? And so she really is personalizing it to those people, and she wants everyone to be heard.
That's amazing. Oh my God. And I think that's what's make it so much, so much connected with the idea of the Burning Man itself, right? The idea of this experience. I don't want to call it festival because I don't think it's a festival, but in the same time, there is so much controversy around Burning Man that I have to bring it up as well. Because as I get there for the first time, because I never been there last year, but was my first experience when I was getting there, it was so many like bullshit everyone was saying around that, like as
Mhm.
well by using the drugs, everyone would being like drinkers, and this is not about art, it's all about party, all of that as well. But in the same time, I did went there and I get my experience, and it wasn't perfect. I don't think Burning Man could be perfect for anyone, but it's so interesting. I wasn't sure if I'm gonna come back the next year. I would say 99% I was sure I will not gonna come back. And something is calling me. And I realized that this year, like I was like, I have to come back. And then even my husband was like, why? You said you don't want to. And I'm like, no, I need it. I'm sure I feel it. So, and I have such a little experience to share, but you been involved with the Burning Man for several years, contributing both as an artist and in communicational roles as well. So, how has your perspective on Burning Man evolved over that time, and what keeps you engaged with the community year after year?
Yeah, that is the eternal question in the Burning Man community. You
Yeah.
you hear a lot of like, oh, Burning Man was better in the day. And
Well,
actually,
last year, there was a rain. It was terrible experience at some point.
yeah, it's gonna be different every year. And I've been a builder at Burning Man and a maker. So I've been going to Burning Man the week before and watching it rise up. And every year that I make something, I'm like, oh God, I spent so much money. And people say, oh, you get free tickets for making things for Burning Man. And it's like, no, it's definitely not free. My first year, I got $3,000 for a robot that I built from scratch, like carving wood. And I spent an additional $4,000 on it. And that was my first one. And so it evolves over time. And then you think, I'm not doing this again. And everyone might have that moment, that I'm not going to do this again. For me as a builder, there's many perspectives. As for me as a builder, my first time that I brought something, the robot, I was so tired. I slept for 15 hours and I was just, very tired. I was installing the piece on the Man Pavilion. So it's a little village because the Man Pavilion, they're contract builders, a lot of them along with the Man crew.
Hmm.
And so we created a little village. And so there was a fence around it. It was our little bubble. And so that experience was very intense, the first one. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I spent so much money. Why am I doing this? And so I
Mhm.
went, slept for 15 hours, and then my whole camp were like, you got to go see your sculpture. You got to go out and see it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I went out there, and my whole team and my partner were like, she built this. They were like, she built this. And I was like, oh well, whatever, it was fun, and that's something I had never experienced, that sort of thing before. That was like beyond my art show days. That was something different. And this man came up, and he was feeling my sculpture. Like, my sculpture was a woman, and he's feeling up my sculpture.
Oh, wow.
Man in like his 70s is feeling my sculpture. And then I
Uh-huh.
realized he's blind,
Oh,
and his
wow.
son was next to the piece, and I'm like, what he like, hi, I'm the person that built this, and I wouldn't normally let anyone touch it because there's a sign that says please don't touch, but I'm like, this is fine, this is great, what's going on? And he's like, he was tearing up, and he's like, my mom died several years ago, and it's kind of funny, we were like laughing and crying at the same time. It's like, this is the first time that my father has felt a woman.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I guess the point here is that we all have our reasons why. And so at that moment, I was like, okay, I'm doing this forever. Like, this, I'm sold. Like, this is forever. I'm doing this forever. I'm going to make work for Burning Man as long as I possibly can. And then you're going to hear stories of like the old timers saying, oh, it was better back when, or, and those who say it's all about the jugs, it's all about the partying, it's all of this, 99.9% it's from people who have never been to Burning Man. And I just had a kind of like a psychic kind of reading from a lady that I found out about, and my friend recommended, and just an acquaintance. And I went on and I booked a session, and I was talking to this lady, and I told her I love Burning Man. And she's like, the Burning Man is the way that the devil comes in. It's an access for the devil to arrive into people's spaces. And I'm just thinking, wow. I'm like, and then I asked, you never been to Burning Man, have you? She's like, no. I'm like, well, there you go.
Well,
Burning
she
Man
reminded
is
me of priest from my churches when I used to go to churches. And then
yeah.
and
It
when they
was
ask a priest like, "Oh, what's up with marriage? Like, I don't feel like I wanna like keep going. What if I wanna break up?" And he said, don't do that. You're gonna be like uh in not in heaven. You it's terrible. You cannot like break your marriage. And he was so this like it's remind me him. And I was like, okay, I guess I have to go. Well, it's so much curiosity right there, right? Like,
yeah.
and especially if people who never done it. Yeah, I don't think that's true, but that's
Yeah,
funny.
no. It's a
It's funny.
microcosm of the world. It's a microcosm of this learning experience we call Earth. It's this Earth school. It's the Burning Man school. And I've heard on a few podcasts and a few people who've said things like, never make Burning Man your everything. Never make it everything. And I would say I'd have to disagree. If it is something that is like your everything, sure, maybe it's your everything. It evolves. Maybe that everything that you are involved with Burning Man will lead you to somebody that you're supposed to meet one day. Maybe it'll evolve into you wanting to propose temple one day. Maybe it'll evolve into you finding your community and your people. My Burning Man has been working man for a lot of it, where I'm making a piece, I'm installing a piece, it's hard work, and then I'm deinstalling it and I'm taking it away. And that's for a lot of us experiencers of the art process there. We are working to create an experience for people, and it is our heart and it's our love. Other people might go there for the drugs and the alcohol and all of this, but it doesn't last. It becomes kind of disillusioned in my experience. A lot of people who do that, they become disillusioned, and they said, oh well, I went 5 times, and it's the same party, and it's the same drugs, it's the same alcohol, it's the same this. But not if you're full of wonder about what other kind of Burning Man you can actually invite yourself into. Because there's the Burning Man that's full of children at the Hushville, where they have kids at this village at Hushville, at Kidsville. They have a whole section of, or a whole population of burners that are over 60, that
Yeah.
are very much day burners. and they like to go out during the day and see the artwork. They have people who create an experience for those who are terminally ill. There's actually a organization out there that creates an experience for those who are terminally ill who are able to come to Burning Man physically. They create that beautiful experience. If that's something they want to do, they have a car for them. They create like a little like art car for them to be in, or a cart for them to be in. They have an RV for them. They sponsor them. They buy them the ticket. And so you'll have maybe that Burning Man. Maybe that's been your experience. Maybe you wanted to be a volunteer right out of the gate, and that's been your experience. And then you become one of the gate greeters. You become one of the greeters, and that is your thing. Or maybe you get involved in temple, and you think, oh, wait, there's temple guardians. Maybe I'll be a part of that. So you become a temple guardian, and that's part of your community. And they're a year-round organization. Maybe you go to center camp and you learn about Burners Without Borders. And you think, oh, I'm a civically minded person. I want to bring these principles out into the world. I will be a part of Burners Without Borders. Maybe you're a numbers geek and you find out that there's actually a census at Burning Man, and that becomes your world. So we go to different Burning Mans, and oftentimes I'll come back from Burning Man and people will tell me their experiences or even artwork they've seen. And I'm like, what Burning Man were you at? Because I don't remember that. That was a totally other experience.
That's so good. I have to clap at that. I agree with you. And then when I went my first year, I couldn't even imagine how huge is this. So that's why I'm saying I have to come back also, because I realized that whatever I experienced, it was just the one puzzle of like a universe, right? And so much there that I couldn't just physically cover, because just physically you cannot like see everything and meet everything. And you don't have to, because it's all about being in the moment, right? And you don't want it to like just spend all your Burning Man to trying to like meet every camp and all the installation, right? But it's wonderful. I think I absolutely see where you're going. And for everyone who hear that, even though, you know, I like that you also bring it up that so many obstacles in life, especially nowadays with all that craziness happening in the world. For me, Burning Man is a chance to actually step out from that social craziness that is going on. And the
Yeah.
biggest piece is you are clear, because you are not having that outside pressure without having an internet, news, your jobs, your family responsibilities. It's just like you can be who you truly are right there. And that's been a big piece why I loved it.
Yeah.
And with this being said, my next question to you, you kind of already gave us one of the experiences, but I'm sure there's a more right there. Maybe you could share with us one of your most memorable experience from your time at the Burning Man, and how did that experience influence your creative journey or maybe your role with the community?
Oh my goodness. Oh, you're gonna make me pick one.
Let's say one for now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Goodness. Okay, there is something very personal to me and why I am where I am, where I'm living, why I am doing what I'm doing, and what has brought me to the temple in particular. And one installation that I did was 2022. I got this grant. I got an honorary in 2020. Well, we all know what happened in 2020. And there was no Burning Man.
Mhm.
And all of those who received an honoraria in 2020 were on hold. I mean, so a lot of people were like, oh, you got plenty of time then to work. Well, a lot of us who created a proposal and got a grant for Burning Man that year are full-time artists, and full-time artists were suffering. We didn't have a backup plan for, we didn't have any kind of assistance from the government or anything like that during pandemic. So fast forward to 2021, and an angel donor actually gave the full amount of the grant um, to all of us artists. And they gave it to us and they said, this is for you. And this is to either create your work. We want you to, and we want you to bring it somewhere in the world. Could be Burning Man when it's right, or it could be somewhere else. We want to give this to you to support you artists during this difficult time. And that was an amazing gift. So along comes 2022, and I do want to make my piece. I want to create my sculpture. So I'm creating the sculpture, and I'm having a hard time with it because pandemic made every material nearly impossible to get. I
Mm-hmm.
almost had to close down my own business because of materials, but I was so determined to make this work. And it made me think so outside of the box of how to create this thing. Like I proposed this thing and I've had an idea of what I wanted to make it out of the materials, and it changed and it morphed throughout those 2 years until finally I resulted in making it out of a shell of wire and steel frame that I welded together. And I put fiberglass over this with a crew of usually 5 or 6 people came out at a time, but really it ended up being me and my right hand woman, Marianne, who has helped me build 3 projects now out there selflessly, tirelessly. She's a carpenter and she creates furniture and amazing. So, anyway, I created this piece and I brought it to Burning Man in 2022. And I'm on Playa. They gave us our placement of where we're going to place this piece.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm out there in the desert, and you have to go out there and with a fluffer that, on the golf cart and from the artery, you're assigned somebody and they take you out and they show you, they take out like a little instrument to show like the amount of feet out, and they use those calculations. So it's feet out from man and then direction wise that way. So we found our little spot, which was a little flag. We were looking for a little tiny flag way out in the playa with the CD on it, like an old school CD that has the name of the project on it.
Oh.
And we found it. So we get out there and I'm waiting for my team to arrive with the big trailer. And every year it amazes me that people show up to help me, help all of us artists. That blows my mind that people still do this, and it's for the love of Burning Man and the love of the interaction. So anyway, I'm trying to install this piece and no one can decide on how it's going to happen. No one can decide on what's going to happen. How are we going to install this piece? No one could really decide. It's on the trailer and we couldn't figure out how it's going to come off and get onto the playa. So I'm just kind of waiting there and I'm like giving my ideas, but I'm going to go find some help. So I go into the city and I was going to go to our camp, which is way out by in open camping. But then I see a camp of somebody that I had just met. And this person I met because our projects were tagged with one another from an article from Alaska Airlines. Now,
Mm.
because I made something for the Man a couple of years, my pieces got photographed a lot because it was the Man, they got photographed with the Man. So my name was attached to this article, tagged online, and his name was attached. And his project, I kept on standing at 12 o'clock that year. This is 2019, and looking back, and I'm at 12 o'clock. So what's behind me is the temple. And
Mm.
that's looking back at, and I'm measuring how to make my pieces aligned by aligning it to the temple, which was it was such a perfect alignment. And so I just was going like this and looking back and looking forward and making sure that it was in alignment. Well, that temple was the Temple of Direction by Jordi Vanderbosch. And we became friends online. And I just had this connection, a soul family connection to this person without meeting him. So fast forward to 2022 when I'm installing this piece, and he had told me, if you ever need help, just come and get me. I'm happy to help you. So I went out. I decided to go get him. He snapped together a couple people like magic. We got in my car. We went back to the piece. I didn't tell anyone that he'd made the temple in 2019. I just said, look, this is my friend Jordi, and he's going to help with this piece. He's an architect. He'll know what to do. He gets on the trailer. He directs everyone. Everyone is silent. They put the piece onto the area, and I'm in awe. And I'm going, this is Playa Magic. This is what it's about. This is why I'm here. And then he asked me where I was camping, and I told him very vaguely 3 o'clock in L because we're an open camp. Well, he found me the next day. He came over and he found me, and he spent the whole day at our camp. And he sat down with me. He's like, Kelly, the reason why I'm here is because I believe that you're going to be making temple one day. And I was shocked because I've never voiced it. I never really thought about it, but he believed in me and he supported that vision. All of a sudden I had this vision. He seeded the vision. And I thought, wow, could I? Could I really make temple? And so anyway, fast forward, he was the catalyst to get me to move out of Lake Tahoe, where I was living for 13 years. He got me out of the life that I was living. He got me into the new life that I am now on, the new path. He is the catalyst that created this whole scenario of me now being in the Bay Area, me coming to that kickoff, me proposing Temple, me being a part of this community, me meeting all these wonderful people, going to headquarters, sitting over at Robot Heart residency last year, and Marion Goodall walking in and sitting next to me. I mean, these things have just been lining up, and it's just the most amazing thing. And to long story short, Burning Man is going to give you a certain magic that is going to be so very personal and private, maybe not so private, but personalized, I should say, to your experience. And so that is my favorite Burning Man experience. And it is the reason why I am doing what I'm doing today. It's all because of that moment.
That's so beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I
Mhm.
am absolutely excited, and I hear your story as a part of the one of million stories that I heard from Burning Man, people I know, and even my story as well. So it's true. It's absolutely true, guys. If you hear that, and even if you was there, but your experience wasn't the one that you were looking for, that also a divine telling you that that was it. That was it for you. You have to come back and see how it feels next time. But thank you so much for sharing this. Yes, I think it's beautiful that you, with your open heart and all the skills that you have, can even move, right? It can be so significant for someone to attend in this, that this can change the whole perspective of the life. And this is something magical. So it could not be from devil, just for someone out there. And I feel like I can talk to you forever, but we have some timeline, so I have to close it up. And I have that question for you. Looking ahead, where are your aspirations for the future of the Temple of Together? And how do you envision that specific temple impact the Burning Man community and maybe beyond the Burning Man community?
What I have learned most of all from being part of the temple build is that each temple is not an individual temple. It is a timeline of what has been created beforehand. It's unlike any other build process on Playa. Imagine, for example, if the Folly, which was a project out there a few years ago, if the Folly project was recreated, let's recreate the Folly every year. If you were to do that every single year, then you would have a process and a knowing, but a slightly different vision, but the same purpose, right? Same purpose.
Mhm.
So that's what's happening with the temple. The temple is the same purpose with a different design. And because of this, we have a lineage that we have really give homage to. And also because of this, they have honed in their skills. And when I say they, those who've been a part of this process for over and over and over, and it almost becomes like an apprenticeship, they have honed this process to such a finely tuned machine. It is unbelievable. When I came into the process 2 months after they started the build process, and I came in as lead, they had already had so much in place. They had the Slack application up with all the communications up on there and the different channels and the different leads doing this who have been a part of big projects. We have Sparkle Pony, who's been a part of so many different temples, I think every single temple in the past, and he's our build lead. So it's not just this vision, it is temple as a continuum, as the homage to what the temple process is. Now, I will say though, one of the most important things is the temple lead. The person who created the temple creates the output of the emotional vision and the physical vision, and it comes down like this to everyone else on the team. And I think it's because of that temple person, and Burning Man is so smart, and the temple committee is so smart because they choose the person not that has the best temple, but the person who is the best suited for this job and has a great temple. So
Mhm.
it's so important that people realize that the vision that is encapsulated within the temple is the vision of the artist, and we are holding true to that vision and encapsulating it for you all to experience. So Caroline really wanted people when they go into this temple to feel the community, to feel that love, to feel everything that we have garnered through those years, and especially last year because we have a lot of people from Temple the Heart who came into this process, and they had a no drama team, and we have a no drama team. And
Mm-hmm.
it's such a beautiful process. So that is what I hope people will experience when they walk into this temple, to understand the heart of what we hold and what we've been building for the past, well, 3 months now.
That's
Yeah.
so wonderful. Yes. And as I said, I feel like I wanted to talk to you forever, but we have to close it up. And I'm sure people would like to know more about the temple, maybe reach to you somehow. So could you share how people can find you, find the information of volunteering, and maybe design opportunities, anything that you can share that people can find and reach to the temple and to you personally?
Okay, so our website is templeoftogether.com. You could
Mm-hmm.
reach out to me at Kelly at 2024temple.com. And you can go on Facebook, just search Temple of Together. We have 2 sites. We have one for the volunteers, which gives a really close-up look of what we're doing in the volunteer world of things. And then we have the Temple of Together kind of out-facing page that's the general, that's showing what's going on. And you can reach out to me if you have any communication ideas or media ideas or any kind of communications things you want to deal with, or get a hold of somebody. That's also the thing. But please go on the website if you are really interested, and go to the volunteer page, and everything is there for you.
Thank you so much for your time today. I'm excited to meet you in person in this year. Hopefully, we'll pray we can make it work. And you guys who listen to that, I will leave all the websites and information in the notes below so you can easily find that. Hopefully, we can meet you more and talk more about your personal experience and your awakening and your journey with ayahuasca, and maybe in next episodes. But for now, thank you so much. And I wish you have an amazing Burning Man experience this year.
I hope I see you out
I
there.
mean, finger crossed and
Uh,
prayers, but the divine is with us. So
yes.
I'm sure it's gonna lead us to the way.